the media can add value to their work by reporting it and making sure that it reaches so many people. And this has been quite a challenge. The Nile well is bringing these two parties together to be able to interact, to be able to chase the mistrust that has been existing between the two parties.
Nile well is a unique platform. It helps to interlink the journalists, the scientists, students and other researchers. It gives you a platform to also link to your own work, and also it gives you updates on the current and existing information that you have on the Nile basin.
You see, in many cases, the journalists, the first time, they may not get it right, but through continuous interaction with the scientists, they'll be able to learn a lot more, and they'll be able to learn correctly. I'm a living example of that. The way I was reporting 20 years ago is not the way I was reporting 10 years ago, and it is different from the way I was reporting 5 years ago.
It's important that we join this Nile well platform because it helps us to link between scientists and journalists and provides information to the public in a way that is really understood and information that is scientifically proven. So this is a good link that you need to join. So go Nile well.
So what are you waiting for? Create an account today by logging on to www.nilewell.org. Hi, my name is Alice from Infona. Welcome to Nile well, the first online platform that connects environment researchers and journalists.
My name is Gerald Tenywa. I'm a senior multimedia journalist working with a New Vision newspaper, and I've been working there reporting on the environment for the past 20 years.
My name is Mary Akurut. I have a doctorate in engineering science, focusing on water resources and climate change. My research interests are in water quality, climate change around Lake Victoria, and I'm currently working with the Uganda Electricity Generation Company as a manager dam safety and water resources.
The scientists believe that their role is to work in the lab, do their research somewhere in the research office, and they have no business with the media. And yet, the media can add value to their work by reporting it and making sure that it reaches so many people. And this has been quite a challenge. The Nile well is bringing these two parties together to be able to interact, to be able to chase the mistrust that has been existing between the two parties.
Nile well is a unique platform. It helps to interlink the journalists, the scientists, students and other researchers. It gives you a platform to also link to your own work, and also it gives you updates on the current and existing information that you have on the Nile basin.
You see, in many cases, the journalists, the first time, they may not get it right, but through continuous interaction with the scientists, they'll be able to learn a lot more, and they'll be able to learn correctly. I'm a living example of that. The way I was reporting 20 years ago is not the way I was reporting 10 years ago, and it is different from the way I was reporting 5 years ago.
It's important that we join this Nile well platform because it helps us to link between scientists and journalists and provides information to the public in a way that is really understood and information that is scientifically proven. So this is a good link that you need to join. So go Nile well.
So what are you waiting for? Create an account today by logging on to www.nilewell.org.
Welcome everyone once again. For those who are joining us, thank you so much for making time to join us today. This is the third edition of Nile Whale Science Wednesday. We are happy to have you. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Deli Petsive. I'm InfoNile's Communications Officer. InfoNile is a geojournalism group that covers environmental stories using data and science-based multimedia storytelling. So the objective of this event, among others, is that we are working towards facilitating learning and networking for both scientists and journalists. And these discussions will be based on different science communication topics. We hope you learned something different and develop some story ideas out of these stories. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat boxes. This includes your name, your country, your organization. This is your media house or your science institution, your country, your link to the Nile Whale profile if you have one. Today, you're going to use, you can tag us on you can tag us on social media. Our social media handle is @InfoNile. The hashtag to use is Science Wednesday. As we start off this session, I encourage us to make this as interactive as possible with minimal to unnecessary interruption. Ensure all your mics are muted, and also you can type your questions in the chat box. We shall use the questions at the end of the presentation to attend to all of the issues raised, issues or questions. So our subject today is the role of the circular economy in digital technology in sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. And we are honored to be graced by the presence of Dr. Paul Orina from Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute. Among the things we're going to learn, we're going to know what is aquatic ecosystem sustainability, how agricultural waste can be converted into a source of animal food under aquatic systems and environments monitored digitally. And then what are some of the opportunities that can be used to turn waste into food sustainably? So you might be wondering who Dr. Paul is. I'll briefly go through his bio. His bio is quite big. So Dr. Paul is a Zoology BSc, MSc and PhD holder from the University of Eastern Africa, Baraton, Mo University, and the University of Eldoret, respectively. His specialty is in fish breeding and genetics, coupled with optimal culture systems. He has a wide capture of fisheries and aquaculture, having spent 13 years working in Lake Victoria, Lake Turkana, and Lake Naivasha, and later joined aquaculture, where he has served for 13 years now. He has published widely 45 publications and 13 books, and supervised several local and international MSc and PhD students. He has 10 years of part-time teaching and supervising experience with both local and international universities. So currently, Dr. Paul doubles as the Assistant Director of the Freshwater Aquaculture, overseeing all freshwater chem-free centers. This is the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institutes, and the Center Director of Chem-free, Kegati, Kisii. Thank you very much, Dr. Paul, for joining us. The floor is yours. We are very honored by your presence. Dr. Paul?
Thank you, Siv, for that introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Paul Orina, as Siv has put it, and I will not want to dwell so much on the other aspects that she has mentioned about my publications and career development in terms of mentoring those who are coming into the field of science. But I want to strongly believe that also in the media world, there's a lot of mentorship that is taking place, and exactly that is what I believe InfoNile is working towards. So today we are going to look at the role of circular economy and digital technology in sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. Why this kind of topic? We are looking at a world population that is ballooning every other time. We are currently talking about China and India having the highest population, and India currently being fronted as a country that has the highest population, over 1.4 billion. And you're trying to look at this and trying to imagine that as the population grows, there is need for production. And as we produce to meet the population growth expectations in terms of food security and nutrition, definitely, where there is production, there is waste. And so that is what provoked my mind in this particular presentation. Siv, do I put it on presentation mode?
Yeah, you can put it on presentation mode, but we still can see it. Maybe, yeah, that's fine.
That's perfect. Okay, fine. Yeah. So I hope when I move with my slides, are they moving?
Yes, they are moving.
They are moving.
Yes, they're moving.
Perfect, perfect. It's good to know that. And in case you realize that my slides are not moving, please let me know. You can interject. I will not be disoriented in any way. So we are talking about circular economy and digital technology. And this is directly linked to sustainable fisheries and aquaculture. We are all aware of what is happening across the globe as far as aquatic ecosystems are concerned. In terms of fisheries, mainly fisheries has been the mainstay for all the countries across the globe in terms of meeting the protein source from fish. But as it is today, the fisheries sector catches are going down, and they're going down so drastically. I will tell you, most of our water systems currently are just like big ponds. No fish. We talk about the lake basin. The indigenous species are now difficult to come across among the fishermen. And if they are found, then it becomes, this is specifically for their family use. You talk of the cyprinids of Lake Victoria and the lake basin at large. You talk of the cichlids, that is the tilapias, the original tilapias of Lake Victoria and the surrounding water bodies. Where have they disappeared to? What could be the cause of this disappearance? How do we, get this information, real-time information about the trends in these aquatic ecosystems? How do we get the trends in terms of what is happening? What is the water chemistry looking like today? How was it looking like yesterday? How do we get these, GIS maps, like up to 50 years back? Are we able to trace back and see how Lake Tanganyika was looking like 50 years ago? And not just the lake, the surrounding communities. What was the population looking like in Mwanza 20 years ago? And what does the population look like today? Jinja, Isumu, Bujumbura, just along the shores. These are big towns. Some are the capital cities like Bujumbura. What are the populations looking like? Is there any pressure that is building up in these aquatic ecosystems? We may talk so much as scientists, but if we cannot give proof of what we are saying, all that is just like anecdotal stories that really cannot be traced, the beginning and the end. And so that's why we thought that this time around, it would be important to share this topic and probably jog our minds and see where have we missed the mark? What is it that we have done so traditionally as scientists? And how has the media also not been in a position to challenge the scientists, especially in the aquatic ecosystems? When we're talking about fisheries stocks dwindling, aquaculture is coming up so strongly. What are we talking about as environmental journalists in terms of what is aquaculture contributing to the environment, positively or negatively? Critical matters. And so aquatic ecosystems and their future, I would say that aquatic ecosystems are facing immense pressure globally and will continue suffering the same, and unless we change our perspective. I say we because it is all encompassing. We are all involved in this. If we succumb, all of us, none is going to remain, because every part of the systems on planet Earth plays an integral role in our survival. The pressure is necessitated by many issues. Talk of climate change is the in thing today. Everybody is talking about issues to do with climate change, climate change, climate change. What is climate change? Who is the cause of climate change? Is this the way the Earth was defined to keep on changing? Have we as human beings been the greatest players into climate change, global warming? What has been our role? Talk about issues to do with unregulated waste emission. I just talked about a few cities along our water bodies. I talked of Bujumbura, talked of Jinja, talked of Mwanza, talked of Kisumu. Those are cities now coming up very strongly. And we have this influx from the rural areas to the urban areas. Of course, people are looking for livelihoods and a better life. And so the pressures on these cities is growing. How have these cities grown to manage their wastes? You will be shocked that some of these cities could be actually emitting waste that has not met the international standards, leave alone the local standards. But the local standards are normally anchored on international standards. We have seen a few cases reported here and there, but we would want to see more reporting on waste emission into the aquatic ecosystems. Remember, we are not alive without water. Water is key to our survival. In these aquatic ecosystems, we have been struggling with fishermen around Lake Victoria and other water bodies. Talk of Lake Turkana, Lake Tanganyika, talk of all the other lakes around, small and big lakes, about destructive fishing. Last time we discussed about fishing gears. Now, this time I'm not looking at fishing gears, I'm looking at the breeding grounds. What activities are taking place around the breeding grounds? Who is going to make noise about this? Because then, if we don't make noise about this, the indigenous species are gone. There will only be stories for our children to read and probably images that will be found online to be shared. You talk about Ningu as a species. That is the African cyprinid. That is a fish that you'll walk around our water bodies in the lake basin and hardly come out with a fisherman having such a catch for a long, long time. So the other aspects are reduced water levels, of course, interlinked with issues to do with climate change. But reduced water levels, what could be the causes? I've talked about these cities growing. The population is growing. People are now likely to depend on agricultural produce more for them to be able to grow, to meet their daily needs in terms of food. So we have a lot of activities that are diverting waters that are flowing into our aquatic ecosystems. And this may not be necessarily restricted to agriculture. It could also be an aspect of industrialization. You look at ginger today. It is not the ginger that was there 10 years ago. It's neither the ginger that was there 20 years ago. As these cities are growing, industrialization is growing, the need for industrial products is growing. That means there is need for water in those operation systems. People are intensifying in agricultural production, and that means because of climate change, rains are taking longer to come, and the little that is flowing down the rivers, people need it for their irrigations and other things. And that is resulting into intensified abstraction for various agricultural activities. And even when these activities are happening, something is happening back into that aquatic ecosystem. That is release of fertilizers and other chemicals that are used in these farms. Talk about the flower farms, talk about the horticulture farms. We are talking about the maize and the vegetables, all this growing along the water rivers. And you look at the activities taking place there, they're giving room for destruction. And majorly now, like in Kenya, we are discussing about the destruction of the water towers, the Mau forest. And so much as, the Mau forest has been reduced so much that you try to imagine what is going to happen in the next few years. You talk of Mara River's levels keep on dwindling. When the dry spells come, the river is almost completely dry. That is unlike Mara River. And many other rivers, talk of Sio River and many other rivers across the East African region. I hope this is not just an East African thing, but something that is happening and is disturbing across the African continent. We must now come out strongly and see the possibility of ensuring that we're able to protect our own. The media has worked so hard to publicize about the issues of, the destruction of the water towers, and it should do more in ensuring that this message really gets out there and influences policy decisions. The media is so powerful. And as scientists, we look forward to, sharing information on this soil erosion. a big issue because of the agricultural activities along the water catchment areas, talk about the rivers, the streams, the lakes, and any other water body. Poor agricultural systems, poor agricultural practices have caused a lot of eutrophication into these aquatic ecosystems, and the chemistry of this water has significantly changed. But when I'm saying this, is this supported by data? And that's where we're going to end up with the digital aspect, Wetland destruction and reclamation. Yes, as the populations grow, people need more space, people need more land. And so we have the eucalyptus trees, especially you come to Kenya, it's a serious issue in the islands. It's grown all the way into the wetlands and it's killed the wetlands, and softly people have found their way in to settle there. And we shall look at the end of the day at their policies on this. I hope my slides are moving and you're following on this.
Yes, they're moving.
Perfect. And so when we have talked about these aquatic ecosystems and what is bedeviling them, then we go back to our topic again and talk about the circular economy. What is circular economy? Of course, the alternative to circular economy is a linear model. I mean, you have these dairy cows at home, they produce waste, but you have milk. You're not so much bothered about the waste. You can heap it somewhere in the compound or down in the farm. We are not alive to the fact that our animal production systems can emit a lot of methane to the environment. I'll tell you, many farmers, probably over 95% of our farmers, have no idea what the animal waste from the farm can cause to the environment. And ultimately, that affects us as human beings. So circular economy is a good concept, not much practiced, but is the way to go today. It addresses current waste challenges associated with agricultural production. And this is by actually ensuring that that which is considered as waste in the farm from the animals and other materials is converted or transformed and distributed along the value chain in your farm and is used as energy to enable you to produce more material. So we are converting what we consider as waste to be useful source of energy to develop more produce from our farm. So what does that mean? The loop is completed. And so there is nothing to consider as waste here. A beautiful concept. Go to the other parts of the world, like the Netherlands, you will be seeing farms, dairy farms struggling with sludge waste. There are many other challenges that are bedeviling our aquatic ecosystem. And even though we talk about the circular economy, probably the mindset change of our people is critical. All aquatic ecosystems are at risk. What we consider as wetlands are being cleared, and now room is being created for other activities. We talk about the breeding grounds along the rivers upstream. There's a lot of sand harvesting. This is the Budalangi area as you get into Lake Victoria. A lot of sand harvesting. Good idea. People are getting sand to, develop their structures, do their homes and all that. We all want to be modern. But unfortunately, the vegetation around this area where the fish would come and, breed, lay their eggs, do the spawning and produce young ones before they find their way back into the main lake, which is natural with most fish. They will come and do their reproduction either in the fringes of the rivers during the rainy season or at the edges of the lake. All those areas have been, messed up by our human activities. Who's gonna make noise about this? Probably scientists. Ours is to write scientific papers, but we also need media to come out and, digest our information for the public to hear this even much more, because through your forums, this information flows much faster and much stronger. We probably could be reaching out to the academia through our publications. And I love this because when we had fish kills in Lake Victoria the other day, and mainly the intensification of the kills was in the cage aquaculture in Lake Victoria. And you can see the kind of communication that is done here among us, from the media, that is Nation newspaper. This is an online caption, a snip of an online communication that was done about the fish kills in Lake Victoria. And then on the right-hand side is Radio Namlolwe. This is an FM radio locally, and it was already communicating that fish cage owners have made big losses. I love the platforms that are created among stakeholders, and this was flowing. Of course, I'm in this forum, and I was excited that people are able to communicate very fast and let others know that the lake is not in its good state. If your fish ready for the market, you better harvest and take them to the market. These images on Lake Victoria are some of the images that are very disturbing. Look at the quality of that water. It's thick green, and those are levels of phosphorus and nitrogen buildup in the water system. And this necessarily does not come from the communities around. It could also be the inflow from the upper catchment where there's a lot of agricultural activities, there's waste emission. How many of our facilities in terms of the urban dwellings have sewerage systems that function optimally? The exposure of this water to the communities around these water systems is likely to provoke ailments that could be so early into this community in the past, but now could be some of the things that are coming up very fast. And you visit the medical facilities around the water system that are polluted, you'll hear about rashes that come when this algae is so built up, and the microcystin levels are very high. And this could be some of the factors that are contributing to cancer cases along the lake water systems, the aquatic ecosystems that are highly polluted. And it's sad because on the left-hand side is an elderly lady, but on the right-hand side is a very young girl, school-going girl, who has to collect this water probably for domestic use, oblivious of the risk that it poses to her health. Now, then how do we handle these issues of our aquatic ecosystem that is getting sick and sick by day? I was keen to pick out on a few aquatic macrophytes that are playing a key role in actually absorbing most of this phosphorus and nitrogen that is released from our agricultural activities, especially in the farms where we have large poultry farms, large dairy farms, and other livestock that could find, the waste could find its way into our aquatic ecosystems. And some of these macrophytes are like, the darkweed, and you talk about spirulina, and quite a number of other macrophytes that naturally you could find along the wetlands. You talk about the darkweed. This lady is found around Kericho County, that is part of Rift Valley in Kenya. She has a dairy farm and poultry, and she keeps also rabbits, and she has so much waste, and she was wondering because she could not consume all the waste that is coming from the animals. And she called on us and said she's learned something about darkweed, and her intention was actually to travel to Uganda to look for darkweed. And she was told by one of the officers that you can actually get darkweed, but there is a research officer who can assist you on getting this. And so she got my number through the county offices, that is a district in other parts of this region, maybe Tanzania and Uganda. We talk about district, we talk about counties. She reached out to me, we went, we saw the facilities. She had nice facilities for the culture of this macrophyte. And so on the right-hand side, she receives the macrophyte on our delivery. I personally delivered this. And on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side, she already has harvested the first lot, and she's harvesting. This lady does weekly harvest of these macrophytes. And where does she take the macrophytes? The protein % of these macrophytes, if cultured using organic manure, that is waste from animals, it has over 30% crude protein. Tested is 40% crude protein. Good, fodder for the poultry, for the dairy, for the fish, and even the rabbits. Basically, all the animals she has in the compound feed on these macrophytes. The macrophytes consume the waste that comes from those animals. So what are we talking about? The waste comes into the ponds, accelerates the production of this macrophyte or aquatic plant. The aquatic plant gains more protein. Essential fatty acids are very high. It's a plant that is considered to have high levels of omega-3. And eventually this plant ends back to the animals. And what does that mean for this lady? She has more nutritious products from either her poultry, from her rabbits, from her dairy cows in terms of milk. And that means a lot. And that's what we are talking about, the circular economy. Talk about the ponds in aquaculture. And in Western Kenya, we have a community group of youth who are now doing spirulina. That's another aquatic macrophyte that is commonly found in our ponds and small enclosures of water. And they are even doing products in terms of ensuring that they can actually package spirulina, which has even a much higher protein content than the duckweed. And they're harvesting on a weekly basis from their systems. And out of that, this group of youth are actually able to do capsules of spirulina. And they're able to package them. They've actually been branded under the Kenya Bureau of Standards. That is the regulatory body for ensuring that our product is out there. And they're using organic material actually to be able to, because it's organically grown. So they're using animal waste to grow the spirulina, and the spirulina eventually finds its way into the market as capsules for consumption. And this has been very good. You talk about the macrophytes with high essential fatty acids, then you're talking about issues to do with arthritis. You're talking about many other health complications, vision. Lactating mothers need this. And that is one thing that we want to talk about. How do we ensure that we utilize the waste that comes to the environment? But even as we do this, if we intensify, we are again likely to bring in another problem. And so we have been boggling with following the fish through hydroacoustic efforts, putting the eco-sounders, seeing where the Nile perch is found in Lake Victoria. But then for how long shall we have these expensive expeditions where you have to have the ship or the boats, you have to have the nets, drop them in, see what catch you get within a given island or within given section of the Lake Victoria waters or Lake Tanganyika or wherever, compared to actually, and also monitoring water quality using, the YSI meters, which now cost over 400,000. It's a big challenge. And, the people involved in this, of course, you talk of government agencies, investors, environmentalists, and the local community working concertedly, trying to unravel where the challenge is. But, we are still working the traditional way of gathering information. And that now, so what? What do we do? We have so much waste that is coming out of agricultural activities. We are spending so many man hours in the laboratory trying to analyze. I just talked about looking at duckweed, and that's part of what we were doing in the laboratory. But who knows about this out there? This is where the media comes in. I mean, I'm making arrangements for the media to visit my office just to see what we are doing so that this can be publicized. And this is what I would probably say most researchers should be doing, making sure that the information they have is not only handed over in terms of research publications, but get the media to where you're doing these activities. Let them get the story. The media has a very interesting way of packaging it so that, if you wanted an uptake, it will be much faster. So what? These systems that we are working on in terms of our lakes, our rivers, our aquaculture systems, our farmlands, if we have to get quality fish coming out of our systems, healthy for human consumption, then we must go digital and find solutions. Because even currently, aquaculture ponds are emitting so much waste because they have to exchange water based on the extension services that they get. But where are they throwing this water to? If they have heavy rains and they have sludge in their ponds, more often than not, the sludge is going into the streams and into the rivers, into the big water systems. That is the reason why the image I showed of that young girl will not run away from us soon. It will always be here with us until we resolve the issues of any agricultural activity, including aquaculture. The systems, the way they operate, should be environmentally sound to make sure that our systems remain integrally clean. Now, how do we do this? How do we monitor this? How do we be sure that when we talk about domestic waste like sewage is going into the water systems in the region? How sure are we when we claim that livestock waste is going to the systems? How sure are we that aquaculture waste is also not contributing, is not a new entrant into the pollution of the aquatic ecosystem. And so we need to digitalize our systems. Talk about monitoring water quality in some hotspots in the lakes. How do we ensure that we have digitalized these systems? We minimize the cost of expeditions, that we have to write grants and get these resources. Africa, we must grow to the point of being able to develop these sensors, place them as strategic points, work with our fishermen stakeholders, let them know that these sensors are for their own good. They are relaying information, real-time information. When the thermocline of Lake Victoria is breaking and the anoxic behavior is about to occur and cause fish kills, especially for the cage investors and the fishermen, when they see the water turning brown without probably heavy rains coming or anything, they should understand that those are the early warning signals of the lake thermocline breaking, and that means it's going to cause upwelling, which will cause an anoxic behavior in the system. Now, when shall we be able to set up systems that necessarily we don't have to be called by fishermen and be told we have seen mass of fish dead in the lake, mass of fish dead along the rivers, mass of fish dead in the ponds. We have seen some small facilities in the region putting up digital systems that are able to monitor their facilities. Why don't we extend this to our aquatic ecosystems? That we are able to tell the point source and non-point source of our pollutants. Currently, due to lack of digitalization, we are living on a blame game. The media will be visiting factories, sugar factories, industries that are processing all manner of products, but they will always be claiming that they treat their waste before it gets to the aquatic ecosystem. Science needs to move a notch higher, have sensors that are put strategically at a known location for these other possible polluters, and information relayed in real time, so that when the media comes to us to ask us what could be the cause of pollution in this particular water body, we would give you the story and support it with data. There is need for cage investors in the water bodies in the region to start having these sensors. And what kind of sensors am I talking about? These digital sensing systems, you talk of IoT, Internet of Things, where you're able to actually be able to connect the sensors that you place in the aquatic ecosystem to your phone or even to your computer at your comfort zone, wherever you are. And you're able actually to follow and see the water quality and mitigate where necessary. Talking about dissolved oxygen, temperature, ammonia, carbon dioxide, phosphorus, and nitrogen, this information should be flowing in real time. Like the Western world, when the tsunami is coming, when you talk about the currents in the oceans and the safety of the people along the shore, the coastline, is real-time information that informs them to move to safer grounds. When are we as a region, as a continent, going to get to a point where we can notify people that the levels of phosphorus and nitrogen in our aquatic ecosystem are going up, and so we must slow down on particular activities? These sensors should be interlinked to our mobile phones and our computers and programmed with analytic features so that we have this real-time information. And this should be accessible by the media and all other stakeholders. This requires aquatic and IT specialists as well as local communities to partner in making this a reality. Local community in terms of acceptability and allowing these sensors to be in their position, not to be vandalized. The specialists to come together and inform each other what kind of sensors do we need, how do you come up with them. This is possible. It's not something out of the blue. Otherwise, I want to say thank you. I hope that I've not taken too long. This is a topical issue that we must address as a continent and as a region, because issues of aquatic ecosystems are getting worse and worse by day. We can only be reporting on the challenges, but we must also come up with the solutions. And this must come from the scientific world and shared for the sake of our systems to remain safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Orina, for a presentation well done. I hope you have all learned something out of her out of his presentation. Sorry. You can post your questions in the chat box, but before that, I have a question for you, Dr. How
Yes,
do you
please, go
expect
ahead.
us, as the fourth estate, to support the Kenya Marine and Fisheries Institute, as well as other fisheries institutes all around the Nile Basin, to support the sustainable fisheries and aquaculture? What can be done by the media to help aid this?
Well, I'm looking at a situation like what I just told you. Anytime I have a good story, I have this good concept in my mind. I've always called the media and invited them to my facility and asked them and given them my story. Sometimes I follow the media to their offices and give them my story. And they tell me, okay, this is a very interesting story. Occasionally, they have told me this one may not really sell for us so much. But I asked them, where are the loose ends? What is it that you think people want to hear? Because you interact with people on a daily basis. So they get to tell me, this is what most people want to hear. This is the direction for us for us to sell this information. We want this package like this. Then as a scientist, I go back and reorganize the whole story in terms of the scientific flow and come back and tell them, now, this is what I've developed. Come and see it. They come to the facility, they look at it, and say, exactly, this is hot information. This is good for consumption. We are sure that by the time we share this information, there will be a lot of questions coming to our end, probably wanting us to feature this again. I have done a few documentaries, and I have had the media saying, we are going to have this feature come again because of demand. So it's important for you also as a media to chase us around, link up with us. This is good networking. And probably into the future, you could also allow us to bring in 1 or 2, 3 scientists from the various countries so that they can also follow. It is through this sharing that, this thing gets to grow and grow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I know you operate in Kenya, Daktari, but how can this be replicated in other countries in the Nile Basin? The Nile Basin comprises of about 11 countries. How can this be replicated in the others, so at least to achieve almost similar objectives?
Well, go ahead.
Is it possible, in short?
Yeah, it's possible. It's very possible. I think the scientists across the Nile Basin, the honors is honors as scientists to be able to be willing. You approached me to share this information, and I graciously accepted. As a scientist who is rich in knowledge, you should always be willing to share the knowledge that you have. And I really appreciate Info9 for this. And I just hope that probably into the future, many, many more scientists across. I would love to hear what Cameroon has. I would love to hear what DRC Congo has, despite the fact that they are facing many challenges, a lot of mineral extraction. What are the aquatic ecosystems looking like? Could we be eating fish in the Congo Basin that is full of heavy metals? These are the kind of stories we want to hear from other scientists across the Nile Basin.
Okay, thank you very much. Akuzibwe, I see you. Akuzibwe Peter, before you come in, allow me to read the 2 questions directed to Dr. Paul. As a scientist, where do you feel the media needs to fasten its belt on reporting such issues from the already published stories that are in existence?
You want me to respond to that immediately? I would say this. I have been misquoted before by the media just because of some degree of compromisation by the fisheries sector, because I was actually working closely with the aquaculture sector then, trying to support cage culture in Lake Victoria, Kenya. And I would say this to the media: be honest to yourselves. And the information that comes out will come to judge you in a little while. So don't be compromised. Get the story as it is. Share it, because tomorrow the scientists will be coming out with more information. Another media personality will come to the ground and will differ with your information. Just the way science is unforgiving, your media communication as a person, as an individual, can also be very unforgiving if you actually give information that is not confirmed More often than not, I would say, fasten your belts in getting, sometimes ask us to write you the information rather than just, this communication where I'm talking and you're writing. If you have a recorder, please record. It helps you to develop the story later on. The idea of writing is a good one. I'm not a journalist, but more often than not, we have ended up being misquoted. And that has made many scientists get so scared in addressing media, especially when they know that their seniors are likely to punish them.
Yeah, we apologize for that, Dr. Paul. That concern has been raised by a couple of scientists, and I think we as the fourth estate should take note of that. If you're not sure what you're posting, probably reach out to the specific scientist and find clarification on that. And for this particular session, we have live recorded it on, live streamed it on YouTube, and it will also be available on Nilewell. You can use this link that has been posted in the chat box. You can go back and listen to the recording thereafter. A couple of questions coming in. Dr. Orina, kindly expand on the aquatic macrophytes initiatives and its importance. Also, what are the newest research studies in aquatic ecosystems in the region that journalists should report about?
Okay, the aquatic macrophytes, I would talk about, and I mentioned this earlier. Africa is rich with vegetables. And unlike Asia, where the populations are high, the climate is a bit unfavorable. And so they are struggling actually with the availability of vegetables on the table. And so you talk about India, you talk about China, talk about the Philippines, and all those Asian countries. They've seen something good in these aquatic plants. Talk about seaweed at the coastal region, with the very high essential fatty acids, which contribute, at the end of the day, some of their components contribute to high omega-3. And we all know the benefits of omega-3. You're talking about vision, you're talking about brain development, recovery, bone strength. You're talking about, issues to do with arthritis, alleviating arthritis, alleviating, the effects of cancer. And these plants for Africa, they look more of, weeds. That's why we call it duckweed. Of course, it's a common name that is used all over the world. These aquatic macrophytes are very rich in the essential fatty acids. And as scientists, we've done our research. And so we are considering bringing some of these plants like spirulina and duckweed into aquaculture, so that now our farmers should not overinvest in growing the fish for economic benefits when they could bring in another plant, aquatic plant, and which is favored by the environmental conditions, limited water, because these macrophytes don't need a lot of water. Actually, they don't need water exchange. They just need you to manage the phosphorus level through the organic manure that you are putting in, and ensuring that it's not too deep like the normal pond, which is 1.2 to 1.5 meters. This is only 30 centimeters depth, because the roots are so small, and the distance between the root up there where it is floating and the bottom, if it's too far, then it has challenges attracting the phosphorus that is settled at the bottom. So we only do about 30 centimeters at most. We are looking forward to actually developing products like the capsules we are seeing the youth group is doing, to be able to get into the market. For those who cannot be able to take the paste of spirulina, it's very tasty paste, sweeter than even avocado. And that's something that probably the youth group is doing it at a local level. I would love to see the media go and feature them, because I have been asking them, have you been featured by the media? Oh no, maybe the local radio FM, which is good, it's part of the media. But how do we scale this up so that other youth groups can be able to take it up? The issue of new things that are coming into aquaculture, of course, intensification is one of the things that are really picking up. Aquaculture is no longer the extension kind of, application system that we had that were so traditional, 3 fish per meter square. Now we are talking about per meter cube, and we are doing up to over 10 to 60 fish per meter cube, depending on your intensification systems. People are injecting energy through solar, biogas to run their systems, to run away from the national grid. which is one of the highest consumers of our inputs.
Time is running out. Dr. I'll let you take this question, and then Aguzibwe will come in. Jonathan Jiliga is asking, are scientists in the countries along the Nile Basin sharing experiences at country level? Do you have any collaborative approaches to address emerging challenges in aquaculture? Almost the same as what I was asking. Are there existent collaborative measures within the Nile Basin countries, scientists from the Nile Basin countries?
Yes, there are a lot of collaborative activities going on. Let me give myself as an example. Currently, I was supposed to submit a proposal today, actually on circular economy using duckweed to the Global Council for Research. And the Global Council for Research demands that we collaborate with North and South, of course, Europe, Asia, and Africa. And so in Africa, I'm currently working with the University of Dar es Salaam, with Dr. Francis and Dr. Rukia, who are in the field of aquatic ecosystems. And so I have a team from Uganda, from Naro, very close friends that I'm working with. And you talk about Ghana, I have friends that I'm working with from Ghana, talk of Farah. We are doing quite a lot with them in terms of the agricultural systems. We're even publishing with a team with Farah, under Farah in Ghana. I have Eritrea. I have researchers that I'm collaborating with there. I hope I'm giving myself as an example, and I believe that the other scientists are doing them.
Sorry. Please kindly mute your mics.
So, Steve, I think I've been able to give myself as an example, and I know ChemFree is highly competitive in terms of their scientific staff, and I can tell you there is quite a lot of collaboration. Talk of from freshwater systems to marine aquatic ecosystems. There is both global and continental collaborations. And you talk about the LVF4 in Lake Victoria. We know that Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania are working so closely on matters like Victoria fisheries.
Okay, thank you very much, Infonel, and thank you, Paul, for that wonderful presentation. My question is about other researchers, because I want you, Mr. Paul, to give us or give me your take, because some researchers say they don't give out to their research because they intend to make money out of it. So they don't give it to you because from experience, I'm doing some stories where you need research maybe on a certain thing, and the person who has maybe data, or for that matter, a study or research, he says he cannot give you this research because I want to upload it somewhere and get money. So you end up doing, you end up not getting what you want. So what is your take on this? Are there some researches that are done for money purposes, or these are just individual, maybe individual matters that somebody can not give you his work as a person? Or do give us some light on that, because some research you cannot get, but others you get, others you can't get. And what is the practical bit of it? Thank you.
Now, thank you so much. That is a very, very important question, because we have grown over time. And I'll tell you, I joined my organization way back in 1996, when people would hide their data, literally because they believed another scientist would steal from them. But today, as we are talking, probably for our organization as ChemFree, we have a depository for data. And high levels of integrity are maintained. If you need my data from that depository, I must give an approval. When you provoke the depository owners in the organization, they will forward that to me and say, researcher XYZ or person XYZ needs this information. Can we release it? And then I have to sign consent and say, I allow you to share that information with person X. Now, there are scientists who are still living in the past, and I feel so sorry for them, because personally, I am collaborating currently with the Wuhan University, Department of Water Resource and Management. Wuhan University is all the way in China, it's not in Africa. I just wound up a collaboration and I'm beginning a new collaboration with the University of Stirling. It's all the way in Scotland, in the UK, and many other institutions, University of Dar es Salaam, Sokoine University. Talk of Makerere, I just did some activity along the Lake Victoria with them. Why am I talking about all these teams? I'm talking about all these teams because I have allowed myself to meet the media, share my stories, and people are able to follow my research work online. And that has endeared me to so many people. And so more often than not, as a scientist, I will tell you, I receive emails requesting me if I could partner with people in projects that they have already won. So that reduces my burden in looking for resources. So for me, appearing before the media is one of the best things. It gives me more opportunities, so I'll make more money by sharing my story.
Okay, thank you so much. Two last questions. Kindly, I know we are already beyond time. Just a minute. Just a minute. There's one question from Granis Nyangweso. What strategies do you have in mind on how the media can use scientific data provided by researchers to blend with the human interest aspect of journalistic approach? What strategies do you have in mind on how the media can use scientific data to blend with the human interest aspect of journalistic approach? Second part of the question, often we find a divide between both journalists and scientists. Scientists feel their stories are underreported, while journalists feel that scientists are reluctant on sharing the data, and also that the data is very complex. How can we work together to make the stories matter?
I'm sure that I addressed this earlier, and I would tell you, Steve, and all the listeners, that I'm so passionate about sharing information, and I'm always very keen to even listen to myself when I have been before media, and just to be very keen and be sure that when I was discussing with them and I have an area where I feel I'm being too scientific, what I normally do is I simplify it by giving them another write-up. So this write-up is of a much simpler language, because you could be having a journalist who doesn't have the aquatic or strong biological concept. If you're talking about genetics, you don't want to talk about deep genetics and pass them over to a journalist and expect him just to report the way it is. The onus is on me to simplify this information and ensure that we have that close communication until this information now comes out to the public. I want to say that I've enjoyed my relationship with the media because they have understood the way I work. I always tell them, please let me have the story, probably the storyline, before you can actually put it on air. And they do that more often than not. And I tell them exactly that is how we want it to come out. Sometimes they may have captured it slightly wrongly because of the understanding of the science. And I tell them, please, this is not supposed to be like so. So they ask me, how did you want it to be? I tell them, this is the storyline. They say, oh, now we get it. So they reframe it before it goes to the media. I want to believe that we are Siamese twins, we are conjoined, and so we just need to work together. If I have to succeed as a scientist and be a global scientist, I need the media. There is no choice about it. Unfortunately, the publications are going to a very select few, probably just the academia world, but not the public world. So my challenge would be, it is upon us to share this information in the simplest form, and that helps the media to repackage it and ensure that the larger public is able to appreciate that information. If it's well packaged, the response will be there.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. A last question from Caroline Katana. Some years back, there was sand harvesting in Diani Beach. Did you conduct a research, and what do you think were the findings?
That Diani is at the coastal part of Kenya. I will tell you, sand harvesting, wherever it will be, I want to promise you, that more often than not, it interferes with the integral setup of that ecosystem. Remember one thing I would tell you, that majority of the fish do not go breeding. Like, if we talk about fish, which is one of the major things that we look forward in terms of the aquatic ecosystem, they don't go breeding in muddy areas. They will go to pristine waters because some of the fish have sticky eggs. And when they are releasing the eggs, which in science we call spawning, when they are doing courtship and eventually the female releases the eggs and the male has to fertilize the eggs, more often than not in muddy areas, those eggs are likely to attract the sediments and they clog around the sediments even when they are fertilized, and eventually they die. So fish are very careful. They are as bright as, we talk about eating fish and being bright. They're also bright in their selection of breeding grounds. And so the sandy areas certainly have more clearer waters, more pristine, good environment for breeding activities with a bit of vegetation around there. But much of it has been destroyed because we are harvesting sand for our own use. And that is destructive, I would say, to say the least. It's very destructive. What I would probably say for Diani and many other parts of the Nile Basin, we have the environmental audits that are done against various activities. We have the regulatory bodies, environmental regulatory bodies. What are they doing? Are they implementing the act of regulation, or are they compromised? And that's where, again, the media comes in. Who is allowing these activities to take place? Who is allowing people to reclaim wetlands? When wetlands are actually areas that are not supposed to be touched, but they are going, they're disappearing at a very fast rate. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Ari. I know we have stretched beyond your timeline, but there's a question I had missed from Abednego Stephen. Maybe you can just answer it in a few seconds. How is the market status in Kenya and Africa in general for microphytes like spirulina and duckweed in case if most farmers adopt this system of circular economy?
I want to say this, for as long as the end product gives a solution to African population health concerns, and Africa is struggling with health costs in terms of buying the conventional medicine. If these macrophytes are going to alleviate some of the bills that we are suffering, our people are milling to hospitals, then that will be the in thing today.
Okay.
Africa is struggling with health issues. And so these macrophytes are something that can actually take root and move very fast to, resolve some of these challenges.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul, for making time to join us. We greatly appreciate your presence and your generosity in sharing the information you just have. For everyone asking about his presentation, we shall share it on Nilewell on the link I shared earlier. We're going to send the link on the chat box. In case you need to reach out to Dr. Paul, Andrew is going to show you how you can connect with him on the Nilewell platform. So Andrew, I hope you're ready. You'll come in. And then we'll finalize with the quiz section for a few minutes, and then we close the session today. Thank you so much.
Okay, I can go ahead. Maybe doctor can stop sharing, then I can share.
Okay, let me do that.
All right.
Just a minute.
Okay. Oh.
Did I stop sharing?
Not yet.
Not yet, not yet.
Just go back to normal presentation, and then at the top you'll see stop sharing screen.
Yeah, because I'm seeing share and
yeah, that's fine. Andrew, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor, for that presentation. That's really awesome. I will go straight and take you friends through what I've been told to do. And so I'm going to take you through how you can basically find someone if you're looking for them. At this point of the time, I'm just trying to do this so that I can be able to share. So, just a second. Pardon me on that. Okay. Okay, so here we are. So I've already logged in. I believe most of you are having accounts with us. That's with Nilewell. And so if you've already logged in, you should see where the cursor is, the cursor over hand. Okay, do you see where my cursor is? Billy, maybe you can give me a thumbs up if you're seeing it. Do you see where my cursor is? Okay.
Yeah, we are seeing it, we are seeing it. Go ahead.
All right, so when we click on those 3 lines that the cursor is at, it should bring you a dialog box like that, okay? And so, for example, we are looking for Dr. Paul. So we will come to the browse members. And so when you click that, it should bring you this dialog box. And so you just go there and type Paul. You can even just type Paul, okay? So when we type Paul, it should be able to bring us the various people that have that name. So as you can see, we have Paul Dawson, we have Pauline Kairu, then we have Paul Orina, and I think this is Doctor, okay? So if you wanted maybe to reach out to him, so you just click on his profile. So as you can see, I'm already connected with him. Once I'm already connected with him, I just have to click on where there is send message. So you see this one? So if I click there, it should give me, it should take me where I should send a message. So when you scroll down, you can see that it will show that this is Andrew Aijuka, the sender. This is my email. And so it will appear to his email like as if I sent it from my email. So maybe this could be, the subject could be, thank you note, okay? So maybe thank you, okay? So, and maybe the message could be like, dear Dr. Paul, dear Dr. Paul, that was an awesome presentation. We hope to engage further. Okay, reach me maybe on my email. Reach me on my email. Okay, for further discussion, maybe for further whatever that you want to say. So after that, you should be able to. You can even preview your message before you send it. So once we preview it here, you should be able to show us how the message is going to be. And once we are satisfied with the preview, of course, you can even send a copy to yourself. That's if you want to see how the message will look like. And so when I say send message, it should reach Dr. Paul, and also it should copy into my email to know that actually Dr. Paul has received the mail. So once Dr. Paul is in position to receive the mail, I believe we will be able to answer you back. So for all of us who have questions to Dr. Paul, kindly use that format or that kind of process, and trust me, he will get back to you. I saw someone asking about Dr. Bahati. I think he is also part of the people. You just type in Bahati and it should be able to show up. So for example, here, if I type in Bahati, if I come here and say, so let me say Bahati. Okay. So you can see Bahati is already here. And of course, when I type in, I'm already, of course, following him. So whoever you want to reach out to, I saw someone asking how we can reach Tanzanians and DRC people. Please just follow that. For now, Thank you so much, and hope, yeah, you've picked one or two things from this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew, for that. I hope you can be able to connect with anyone else, be it a journalist or scientist, using the same format Andrew has just shown us. We are drawing to the close of this session today. Chris will be able to go through a few trivia questions. Remember, you're gaining points on the use of InfoNile by attending the sessions, answering the questions right, engaging on the platforms, and we're going to award each one of us at the end of the session, save for the first session where we had already promised to award Davis Buyondo InfoNile merchandise. So Chris, please take over.
Thank you, Delicate. Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting round of Wednesday trivia questions. I'm thrilled to be your host for the second week, I think. Yeah, my name is Christopher. I'm here on behalf of InfoNile. Yeah, I hope you're all ready to flex your brain muscles a bit. Just 5 questions. So let's start. Name at least 3 sectors that should be on the forefront of finding solutions to our environmental challenges. I repeat, name at least 3 sectors that should be on the forefront of finding solutions to our environmental challenges. Delicate, you help me to see who answers first, because last time we had a challenge with the responses coming in.
Yeah, this is based off Daktari's presentation. Name at least 3 sectors.
Yes. Name at least 3 sectors that should be on the forefront of finding solutions to our environmental challenges.
2 more seconds. We close that. Please don't send in your questions. Moving forward, the answers.
All right.
What are the correct questions? Answers. No, let's get the answer. The winner for this question.
Okay.
The first one is Kevin Omolo. He said media researchers, policymakers. And then Lina Mamachi, researchers, scientists, journalists, media researchers, government. What is the correct answer?
There's government, media, and local communities and donor organizations.
So Kevin wrote media researchers and policymakers. Is researchers among them?
No, I don't see researchers.
Policymakers. So Kevin has gotten 2. Lina Mamachi has journalists. Akuzibwe Peter, media researchers, government.
Media is journalists, yes.
Yeah. Water researchers, environmental sector, agricultural sector. No one has gotten all 3. There's a repetition.
So let's
on
go
that.
with the person who.
The first one who
has
said
2 correct.
2 correct is Kevin Omolo.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Next question, please.
All right. The question 2. Name at least 3 aquaculture pressures. Name at least 3 aquaculture pressures.
These are still from Paul's presentation.
Yes. Name at least 3 aquaculture pressures.
Mm-hmm. 2 seconds. Climate change, industrialization, human activities. We close that. I think the first correct answer is by Kelvin Emmanuel Duku. K. Emmanuel Duku, climate change, industrialization, human activities. Next question.
Yeah. Dash.
Next question.
Dash is the only surviving rainforest in Kenya. Now that is not
General
from the
information.
Yes, this is general now. We're in general question now. Dash is the only surviving rainforest in Kenya.
2 seconds.
We already have someone there.
Yeah, Kevin Omolo got 2.
Oh, well done. Well done.
Next question.
Next question. Dash is the longest river in the world. It measures 6,650 kilometers and traverses 11 countries. Dash is the longest river in the world, and it measures 6,650 kilometers, traversing 11 countries.
First correct answer is Grannies.
All right. Okay. Okay.
Mongoso Grannies. Next question.
All right. Let's go. Dash is the world's deepest river at about 720 feet. Dash is the world's deepest river, about 720 feet. A clue. We can give
2
people a clue.
seconds.
Delhi?
Yeah, yeah. 2 seconds on this one.
It's found
Clue.
in Africa. It's found in Africa. That's the clue. It's found in Africa.
Close.
Okay, let me add, in the Nile Basin.
So, correct answer, there is Nile, Mississippi, River Congo. Jonathan Ndikumana. Jonathan Ndikumana has gotten it right. River Congo. Elias also tried. The correct answer is River Congo. It's the deepest. Light cannot even penetrate through the depths of that river. Do you have another question?
No, I think that's what we have for this week's Trivia Wednesday.
Okay. Thank you so much, Chris. And
thank you so much as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
All of you who have participated.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who has participated today. I can see several of us have repeatedly joined us today. We really appreciate your efforts and the sacrifice in taking time to join us. Maybe just to name a few, there's the likes of Espoir, there's Sozan Marma from Egypt, Henry Owino from Kenya, there's Caroline Katana, Victor Muturi, Akuzibwe, Mboya, Kevin Mola, Omolo, Jonas, we really appreciate. And so many others who have joined us. I'm not able to mention everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate the time you take to join us. And we invite you even in the next Science Wednesday coming next month. We shall communicate the date, the topic, and the speaker who will be joining us. Feel free to also write to us in case you have a specific scientist or environmental researcher who you think will make a worthwhile contribution to our network. You can write us to info@infonile.org. Thank you so much, guys. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Bye, guys. Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Goodbye.